Hey everybody, back again. And yesterday I snuck in a second upload in the evening when the new Star Wars Rise of Skywalker trailer hit, and did my very first reaction video. Got to try out screen capture software. I've never done that before. Anyway, uploaded it in my reactions. But problem was, because I've never really done that before, because I know the audio wasn't great. My internet connection isn't awesome. My computer's not the best. It was really just reactions and not really, kind of picking the trailer apart bit by bit, which is something I like to do. I think I mentioned it. I used to have an old movie blog, and when Force Awakens came out, that's when that blog was going around. I got a lot of traffic writing articles kind of going into leaked concept art and breaking the trailers down frame by frame. I remember they did the same thing when Force Awakens came out. They released a trailer, I think the second one, for Monday Night Football, and it was late at night, and I wanted to make sure, you got to get your content out first to get traffic and stuff. So I remember going to a coffee shop that night, headphones in, graphic program, Photoshop up and running, and watching that trailer in his coffee shop. And then as soon as it was done, because you want to be first, breaking into it, getting screenshots, diving deep, picking it apart, and really quickly writing like a 10-page article to post that night with some of the very first early reactions from the trailer. So the stuff that people do to try and make money on the internet. Didn't do that for Last Jedi. Was too busy and stuff. Plus, with Jedi, I kind of wanted to be spoiler free, and whatever. But now that this is again the last trailer for Episode 9, the blog really isn't going anymore. But I do like to go and look at these the trailers and see what we can see from the movie. Now, again, I am not involved in any spoilers so far. I may see headlines and things here or there, but really I'm still pretty in the dark when it comes to the story here and any plot leaks or stuff like that. So my eyes are still kind of fresh and new. But anyway, wanted to go through here and not watch the trailer, but just kind of go pick it apart. And like I said, see what we can see from the video. I'm sure there's tons of other people who do this, but I like to do it. So let's get going here. We start with the Lucasfilm logo, which is good to see. And then we see forest. There we go, pause. So at first I thought, oh, this is like the forest where Kylo and Rey kind of first met in Force Awakens. But when you see this Endor, Rebel soldier Endor helmet getting kicked through here, dead giveaway this is Endor. And I like this. I like how Force Awakens did this really well, at least in the beginning. Was it's 30 years since Return of the Jedi these movies take place, and the galaxy is kind of still recovering from that conflict. In Jakku especially, you saw all the wreckage from this huge battle. Star Destroyers and TIE Fighters and X-Wings and AT-ATs. That was really cool. It kind of, Star Wars has always been an aged universe. They wanted to, Lucas wanted to make sure it looked kind of gritty and lived in and realistic. And showing the wreckage from the war strewn all over the galaxy connects to the previous trilogy. It's kind of like an anchor. It makes things a little bit more believable. And it adds a nice little layer of canon maybe around this, right? It anchors them to the original trilogy very, very well. Last Jedi didn't do any of that. Okay, can I go through this without ragging on Last Jedi? But I'm glad to see it back again because it makes sense. It fits very well, and it's a good way to tie this movie into everything that came before. And I think we'll see some more of that going forward. So anyway, Rey running through Endor, whatever.
It's an instinct.
So here we have her jumping in what I would assume would be wreckage of the second Death Star. You can see in the back behind Rey, there's maybe one of those towers and bridges that you see. And so it looks like that's where the last act is going to take place. And that's kind of cool. Again, it's more of that wreckage from the original trilogy. This big, abandoned, destroyed labyrinth of Death Star. I mean, hey, they like throwing Death Stars in the end of these movies, but this is a different way of doing it. And so that kind of, it's a good way to get a pass, right? It's not a functional Death Star. I hope not. But it's still the Death Star again. So it's a good idea. It plays well. It makes sense. She's on Endor because that's where the wreckage would be. Of course, many people have said that if the Death Star blew up and rained down on Endor, it would be like apocalyptic firestorm. And anyway, whatever. But it looks like the big chunks of the Death Star fell on Endor, and so Rey's running in here. But again, it's a good aesthetic, and I like the connection. So far, so good.
Feeling.
This is fun.
The Force brought us together.
Nothing much here, but it kind of is resemblant. Calls back to Finn. First trailer kind of standing in Jakku looking around. Now he's maybe more focused, looking through his binoculars, so he kind of knows what he's looking for. Obviously, way over analyzing this, but I like Finn. All right. Can't be Star Wars without a Rebel pilot conference or meeting or whatever. Briefing, I mean. So here we are again, harkens back to original trilogy, and I like this kind of space military stuff. You can see Lando is in the middle. Good to see Lando back, and have anybody back. But Lando, looks to be instrumental in this final arc of the story, so good to see him coming back. You see a lot of pilots in orange. You also see, it looks like a lot of pilots in those yellow bomber jumpsuits that you see in Last Jedi. What are those things called? Star Fortresses? Those things that were like useless. I hope we do see them again and they redeem themselves a little bit. I hate seeing ships just come and go. I know it's good to have a little continuity here. So it looks like we got some X-Wing pilots. We got some of the bomber pilots here. Everybody in the white, could be a different ship, crew or technicians, whatever. Where are they at? They're under a ship, it looks like. You can see a ladder coming down and big landing gear. This looks like, I think, it's the Tantive 4. Am I saying that right? The Corellian cruiser on the right-hand side. Is my mouse going to... Here we go. Looks like maybe one. It's got some like gun turrets that come down from the side. These are like little escape pods, shield pods on there. I think this is the Corellian cruiser that has been sprinkled all throughout the trilogy, and we'll see it again later. But it looks like they're huddling for conference underneath here, so that's cool. Again, connect it to original trilogy as much as you can.
We're not alone.
It makes sense, and that's what people want to see.
Good people will fight.
All right, so there was Rose. Can I go back a little bit? Rose is still here. Looks like it's the same maybe hangar scene. People are running to their ships. You can see one of those little horse furry creatures there. But can't be cooler than the Tauntaun. But anyway, looks like things are desperate and they are rushing to battle stations.
We'll fight.
Poe's new X-Wing, which we've seen a toy of by this point. His black and orange one got destroyed in Last Jedi, so now he's got an orange, white, and blue one. I like seeing these different color schemes on X-Wing. Just having, the solid red and blue is all right, but it gets a little boring. You can sexy it up a little bit. So, plus, when there's tons of X-Wings around, you want the hero X-Wing to stand out, so it would make sense that Poe has a special one. He's a really good pilot, so maybe he earns it or whatever. Do like the, okay. And this new X-Wing design is very, very cool. So, Chewie, Finn, and Poe. Nobody else. All right.
If we lead them.
Oh, soldiers in the background. All right, so there's more of the cruiser we just saw running past, and here's some of the Endor wreckage. It looks, or the Death Star wreckage on Endor. Who knew that Endor had a bunch of giant oceans and seas on it? I guess it does. I'm trying to think when they fly in the shuttle in Return of the Jedi. Do we see any water on the planet? It's very forested. It makes sense they have water. Anyway, I don't know. Big stormy oceans. This maybe is a different planet. I'd imagine the wreckage could have blown all over. And it's the forest moon of Endor. This could maybe be the planet that Endor was around. That would make sense, actually. That'd make more sense.
People keep telling me they know me. No one does.
Here's Kylo looking like a badass. Oh, I thought we were going to do an ad. All right, so here's a cool shot of some ice planet, and we see a lot of First Order TIE fighters. Finally, spaceships. Get better freeze. Anyway, flying towards this ice planet, and interesting. Okay, we'll see Star Destroyers coming out of the ice later on, and I am wondering, is the First Order on the same side as the Emperor in his old Star Destroyer fleet? Or are they like a third party, and maybe the Resistance and the First Order has to team up against a greater threat? I'm not sure, but it looks like the First Order got smart and used its strength in numbers finally, Last Jedi slam, to send a squadron of fighters, TIE fighters, out to some objective. Are they going to intercept or try and stop the Star Destroyers? I don't think you would send that many to just go and say hello. So I wonder if the enemy of my enemy is my friend here. Okay, so cool visual again of this like iceberg and this ice planet, and I would imagine, since it looks like it's a frozen lake, probably underneath are just that huge hidden fleet of Star Destroyers, probably right underneath these. Spoilers, potential spoilers, if I'm right. So cool to see, and this might be where Palpatine is hiding out. I also wonder, I guess it can't be. Never mind. I thought this could be Ilium, which was where like an old ice planet where like the Jedi used to get their crystals from, and the Empire kind of took it over and it was hidden. Anyway, there's a lot of debate that Starkiller Base may have been Ilum, and anyway, for a minute I thought this could be like Ilum again, but I doubt it, because I think it's Starkiller. People more or less figured out, and that blew up, so never mind. Okay, anyway, moving on. I'm thinking on the fly. All right, Emperor's Throne. Pretty crazy looking. There is, I should have had it up. There's old concept art. Now, one thing Star Wars likes to do is reuse old concept art for later future movies. The new X-Wing, the T-70, is actually very closely resembling Ralph McQuarrie's original concept for the X-Wing for the original trilogy. And here again, this kind of looks like a little bit maybe of some concept art from Force Awakens of the Emperor. I think for a time they thought about bringing him back or someone like him. Anyway, there was a throne room concept art scene with a really kind of stone-looking, not as wicked as this, but like a stone-looking throne in like a cave. And so this probably harkens back to that a little bit. This throne is empty, though, so there is no Palpatine, at least in there yet.
Have I waited? And now.
All right, so now we see the Star Destroyers coming out of the ice. These are the old school Star Destroyers from, again, original trilogy. And as we see later on, there's a ton of them. I'm not super big into Star Wars canon, but I know a lot of like the books or novels mention that after Return of the Jedi or around that, Emperor's always got secret plans on top of his secret plans. There was like a fleet, his hidden or secret fleet that like left the galaxy and supposedly went into the far reaches of space. It looks like maybe that it's decided to camp under the water for 30 years. But what happens to the people on those Star Destroyers? Are they just all 30 years older? Did they all go into suspended animation under the ice? Are these Star Destroyers all automated now, like droids again? We've seen that before. 30 years would give them time to do that. I don't know. It just seems weird to have a group of fanatical people waiting 30 years under the ice for who knows what reason. And there's a lot of Star Destroyers, a lot of people. So it's this is a mystery, and how this plays into everything we'll have to see. But there's a butt ton of these, and the Emperor also voiceover is talking about he's been waiting. Long have I waited to bring you two together. Interesting take on this. Remember in the original trilogy, Palpatine kept wanting to bring like Luke and Vader together, kind of like a light and dark side. With Kylo and Ren, Snoke was trying to bring them together, and who knows what Snoke is? He's gone. But maybe this whole scheme of Palpatine's to get all his power is maybe he has to like condense the Force, combine the Force, whatever the reason is. But this makes it look like, again, for whatever reason, the Emperor is a greater existential threat. I cannot talk. Beyond the First Order. I don't think them and the First Order team up. And I think Kylo is probably unaware of how he's been manipulated into all this. But it looks like that the two of them, kind of like how Luke and Vader teamed up against the Emperor a little bit again in Return of the Jedi, looks like they may have to carry that torch and combine forces to defeat the Emperor as well. So again, I don't think the First Order and the Empire are teaming up. Plus, that would be such an overwhelming odds against the Resistance. I know they like to be underdogs, but that's maybe stretching it a bit much. Anyway, moving forward. All right, so favorite shot of the trailer, easily, even though there's not much here to see, but we see this huge Rebel Resistance fleet, right? And massive. I don't know if rarely do we see a fleet this big in Star Wars. Usually they're scraping whatever ships they can get together. Here it looks like they got every damn ship in the galaxy. And this is cool because, of course, you see the Falcon front and center, but I'm sure people have looked at the trailer a couple times will realize you can see the Ghost, which is still around and kicking from the Rebels cartoon show, and it was featured in Rogue One a little bit. So for whatever reason, Ghost is still around, which is good. Who's crewing it? Probably some of those characters from Rebels, and I've heard rumors that they might make live-action appearances in this movie. They won't be big, but that would be cool to see. So that's awesome. Call back to that. This ship right here, people have pointed out, looks a little bit like a ship called, I think, the Shadowcaster. This is from, like, Clone Wars cartoon show, Asajj Ventress's ship. If you play the X-Wing Miniatures game, this is one of the scum ships in there. It's a very flat, kind of circular disc-like ship. I don't know if that is the Shadowcaster per se, but it does look like the same kind of class, so that's cool to see. If you look on the bottom here, the Mandalorian TV show that's coming out on Disney Plus very soon. This looks like the Mandalorian ship a little bit from a distance. It's hard to tell. I can't remember the name of that ship. Kill me in the comments, but I know it does look like that. You can see a lot of these circular tubular ships look a little bit like some of the Separatist ships from Clone Wars. Here you have like a Hammerhead Corvette from Rogue One, which pushed a Star Destroyer into another. So it looks like we're getting a lot of ships from all parts of all the trilogies thrown here together in one massive fleet. So that's cool. Again, it's connecting to everything that came before. Star Wars, Millennium Falcon is super old, so it would make sense that some of these old ships are still being used, even from the Clone Wars era, Republic era today. And again, this is, suggests you're going to have this huge, massive battle where it's, kind of not black and white, but it's all the good side against all of the bad, and this huge, massive space battle, which do not just make this 2 minutes of the movie, right? This is looking good. This is what I want to see. So this should be very, very cool. And tons of Easter eggs in here and going forward. So that is awesome to see. And I had something else I was going to say. I cannot remember it. But very cool to see all these old ships in here. And it just makes sense that these would be... I was going to say. So remember in Last Jedi, at the very end on the Salt Planet, I can't remember the name. Can't remember it. They had like that distress call. They were expecting help to come and save them, and nobody comes, right? I would not be surprised, although this seems like quite an answer to the call, but I would not be surprised if they sent a similar distress call out, and now, instead of being ignored, you end up having basically the entire galaxy answer the call and help the Resistance, with the Falcon leading the way, to meet this huge re-emerged threat from the Emperor, right? That would be a good way to do it, to kind of play off what came before. But, I mean, we saw a lot of people meeting in the briefing before. Not as many people that command these ships. But anyway, that would be a cool little callback if they did it that way, but I don't know. Anyway, awesome shot.
Coming together.
All right, flying the ship. So, I don't know, something big blew up. Going back to here, I did not come up with this, but someone else had mentioned, and again, it's a good thought. Remember Revenge of the Sith, right? When you got Kenobi and Anakin fighting over the lava pit, this is a nice contrast, right? Now you still kind of have the same narrow bridge, but it's Rey and Kylo fighting over the water and the waves, right? So it's a little compare and contrast, but again, it ties back to the prequels. Anyway, just a kind of nice callback, and I wish I was smart enough to come up with that on my own. But it definitely looks like kind of Revenge of the Sith. Does that mean this is the last battle of the movie? Is Palpatine still coming? Or have they gotten rid of Palpatine and now they got to settle their differences? I'm not quite sure on that. But anyway, moving on. Something blows up. I don't know what it is. Weird sailing ship on Endor.
What are you doing there, 3PO?
Taking one.
So here you see C-3PO hooked up to something. I originally thought that maybe he was going to plug into the Falcon, but this does not look like the Falcon. So I don't think that is what's going to happen. We saw in one of the earlier trailers his eyes go red, right? And this is that's going to be happening very soon. So what's happening here? Maybe C-3PO is hacking or translating something. He's good at languages. Maybe he's hacking like this old hidden Sith language or something. I don't know. Someone else I saw mention, and it would be this could work, is that you remember at the end of Revenge of the Sith, C-3PO has all his memories erased, right? He gets kind of rebooted. So maybe, for whatever reason, they have to kind of defrag C-3PO here and try and access and reboot those old memories, all the stuff he knew about that happened in the prequels, to help them figure out what's going on. Because these guys don't really know Palpatine too much, right? What does he want? What's going on in Vader, and stuff like that. So that would be a possibility as well. Doesn't look like C-3PO is coming back from this, so this is probably a one-way –
'Transition, or, transition, 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 or, transi
reboot, whatever it is. But we will see. But this is not the Falcon, and this is not. He's not plugging into that. So, but a little sad. However, R2-D2 does remember everything, so they could just ask him, or maybe he's being a butthead and doesn't want to share what he knows. I don't know. Also, 3PO was made by Anakin. Maybe who knows? This is what wild off-the-cuff speculation can do. Sorry.
One last look, sir. At my friend.
They also have jackets on, so they're somewhere cold. Maybe they're on the ice planet also. I don't know. I don't know if you need a jacket for Endor. A winter jacket like that, but we'll see. She was always angry. Alright, shooting First Order Stormtroopers. It looks like this is a First Order Star Destroyer. I think Chewie's in the back as well. So what are they doing here? I have no idea. This could be like just an opening action scene. You know, the movie maybe takes place in a Star Destroyer and they're sabotaging it or doing a mission or something. But we don't really see much of this anywhere else. And because there's so much that has to happen still, I'm going to guess this is probably early in the movie. Just an action scene to kind of set things up. But who knows? All right, Leia again, and it's like, well, this looks like Force Awakens, and that's true because Carrie Fisher is no longer here. Her birthday was actually yesterday, I saw. But they had enough footage and leftover footage from Force Awakens to keep her in this last movie. And, you know, with digital trickery and stuff, they can, and careful camera shots. So Leia's still back. Probably not a huge role. And again, this does look a lot like Force Awakens because this is Force Awakens footage, but repurposed to fit into Rise of Skywalker.
Fear is the destiny of a Jedi.
You hear Luke talking now about her destiny and what Jedi do. So even though Luke died in Last Jedi, no reason he can't be a Force ghost and still be like an Obi-Wan to mentor her. So I totally expect him to do that and show up somehow, some way. Maybe Yoda, maybe Obi-Wan. It would make, you know, where... Anyway, I'll get to that in a minute. But Luke's still around. All right, so this is a cool shot of a Y-Wing. And it is attacking the old Star Destroyers. You can look here. It's got the old school tower and radar dish or shield deflectors up here. And there's a lot of them. So kind of weird they're still using Y-Wings. I mean, these are new models, but this is like an old design from the Republic. Whatever. Anyway. But as I was saying earlier, this looked really familiar to me. And the reason is this shot looks a lot like old, here you go, concept art from the very first Star Wars. So here's an old Ralph McQuarrie concept art painting of the original Death Star and some of the original Y-Wing designs. And you can see it's kind of like a behind swooping low angle of these Y-Wings kind of barrel rolling into their target. And really cool piece. And you can totally tell they just like to recycle old concept art. So here they are, and using that old concept art in this new updated shot. So a little bit of recycling here. But again, that's cool because even subconsciously, if you like Star Wars, like, you know, it's familiar but new. And so I like that. Anyway, I think it does a barrel roll here. Kind of. All right, so here again, we're getting close to the end, almost done. Last charge of the Resistance, and they're running on, as we'll see, the top of one of those Star Destroyers, because we'll see them in the next shot going through some of the turbo lasers and stuff like that. So this is not space, obviously. That would be very bad for them if they were in space. But this looks like we're still on the ice planet. And for whatever reason, they got they're hijacking a Star Destroyer, or maybe it came up underneath them, and so they're just stuck on it. I don't know what they're going to do on their hairy horses, but whatever. The last battle is going to take place probably in some atmosphere again. I hope it gets into space a little bit. Star Wars, guys, come on. But here we go. Maybe they're just target practice. All right, real quick. Throne room again from Return of the Jedi. Been destroyed, and probably looks like this is where they end up meeting, and they start fighting afterwards. The original plans for Force Awakens actually, again, reusing ideas. The original idea was that they would have to go swim to the Death Star wreckage to find something in Palpatine's throne room. There was going to be a big, huge underwater sequence that kind of got cut into production, but they like to reuse old ideas. And so here they are revisiting the throne room. But this concept, this idea, like I said, goes all the way back to Force Awakens back in, 2015, 2016? When did that come out? So reusing some old ideas. Finn is there. Here they are destroying a black statue. I'm going to presume it's Vader. Where is this at? I don't know. However, it kind of, and the more I look at it, kind of looks like Cloud City. Yes, just because it's so bright and so white. If you look back here, you can see some towers through a window that looks a little like some of the Cloud City towers. This shape kind of looks like Vader's little think tank, maybe. Maybe it just wants to have some familiar design elements. It looks like it's a hallway or door. But anyway, Lando is in this movie, so maybe they are trying to find Lando. And this black statue could, like I said, be Vader. And this is probably in the middle, early part of the movie. Kylo Ren still has his mask on, so, we haven't gotten to the point at the end where he takes it off. Maybe this is where they first meet in the film. I don't know. But what's interesting here, and something I was going to say, is that we haven't seen much of Vader at all in these movies. And I think he's going to have some kind of presence. Either Anakin as a Force ghost, or revisiting more of Vader and kind of what he meant to Kylo and the galaxy and all that. You saw his helmet in the beginning of Force Awakens, and Kylo kind of had a Vader fetish and was worshiping him, but that got dropped really quickly in Last Jedi. But there's still this kind of shadow of Darth Vader that would make sense if they're going to try and tie and finish up this trilogy, or all the movies in this one. He's like the central character in the first 6 movies, and to have him just totally ignored and like his leg, we're not seeing Vader. I think they're holding on to that here, and this could be like maybe some kind of Vader statue. I don't know, but I'm just trying to say is I think they are hiding Vader as a surprise, but I would expect him to be here some way, somehow. It just would maybe even his ghost comes back to help them fight Palpatine at the end, right? Where is Anakin's Force ghost? We saw that at the end of Return of the Jedi, and he's just been MIA ever since. So he's around. What is he doing? I think we'll see in this movie. It would be very strange if not. All right, here again, all the old Star Destroyers running across. You see some triangular TIE fighters running through, which toys and stuff have said these are like the Sith TIE fighters. So these look like these are the TIE fighters that actually are in these new these old Star Destroyer fleet. And there's a ton of them in the back. And so they are running through here, and you see they're being chased by an X-Wing, and there we go, a new B-Wing. Very good. Again, I like my ships, my favorite part. And so to see, you've got new Y-Wings, and we had new X-Wings and new A-Wings, and to see a new version of the B-Wing here with some new, bigger engines. Very cool to see that. Hopefully, B-Wings never really got a lot of screen time in any of the movies, but hopefully we see them, blow up a Star Destroyer. That's what they were kind of built to do, and so that's that. But you can see these Resistance ships are chasing the Dorito-looking triangle Sith fighters, and again, I'm going to wager that you end up having the First Order and Resistance teaming up to fight these Star Destroyers here in the last part. So that's my big prediction here. And it looks like maybe there's some old TIE fighters in the back. Anyway, it just seems to fit. Kylo angry, Rey angry.
The Force will be with you.
Always.
All right, so that's Leia saying always. Does she die in this movie? I don't know, but whatever. She has some Force powers, obviously. I don't know. Leia's just there. I have no problem with that. And here is Palpatine. Rey's looking at him. Looks like it's kind of icy. It's a big room. And you see some lights and stuff like that. I guess there's talk. There's like a mechanical Palpatine. And some people think that these tubes and lights maybe is vindication of that. I still think maybe it's like Palpatine is a Force ghost or clone. I don't know how they're going to do Palpatine, but it looks like he's probably sitting on his throne because of the angle. And a robot Palpatine just sounds ridiculous to me. So I hope that's not what they do. That just seems absurd. Like a Hulkbuster Palpatine suit. I don't know. But not really showing him very much. But we hear him and we see him. And it's Rey alone. There is no Kylo Ren here. So maybe Kylo is down from their previous lightsaber fight. And maybe he comes back to help save her at the end. We will see. But I doubt it's just Rey alone.
The Force will be with you.
I think that's it.
Always.
All right, so there we go. Little breakdown just on the fly of Skywalker trailer. Movie is only 2 months away. And like I said, some things we didn't see. We didn't see much of or any of Vader. The old trailer had a Rey with like the two red lightsabers. Didn't see any more of her, Evil Rey. I don't know if that's a dream. I don't know if that's a clone. Probably like a dream or vision of her, maybe. It would make, there's no room in the movie to have her turn bad then good and all that stuff. So probably just a weird little vision to sell some toys, but that's not in here either. We don't see any, what else don't we see? No, Hux is not here. First Order. Oh, those red Sith troopers, like Palpatine's secret army, aren't here. The Knights of Ren we really don't see also. So there's a couple things missing from here. But all in all, like I said, it's not a bad trailer, but it's not like the greatest one either. One last thing before we get out here, kind of breaking things down. So this is something that when the title was mentioned, just kind of made sense the more you think about it. So this is called The Rise of Skywalker, right? It's the last part of the new trilogy. And what does that mean? Like, people had some questions at the beginning of Rise of Skywalker. I don't know. Is this still a question? I'm not sure. But here's my theory, right? So if you go back through the movies, you got episode 3 is, what is that? Revenge of the Sith. Okay. Episode 6 is Return of the Jedi. So you got the Sith, you got the Jedi, and here episode 9 are again Rise of Skywalker. Like, well, Luke's dead. So here's what I think. Okay, my last theory is that somehow when this is all said and done, when this movie's over, we will no longer have Jedi. We will no longer have Sith. And that's kind of what Last Jedi was going towards, right? Instead, we're going to have something new, which is that middle space in between. And we're going to have Skywalkers, right? which kind of makes sense. Anakin had a bit of the light in the dark inside of him. Luke kind of fought with that a little bit in Return of the Jedi and more in the novels and stuff. And Rey, you know, seems to be pulled toward. It just seems to make sense. It's like staring you in the face, right? That, you know, the Jedi have to go. Kylo Ren wants to burn the past and Last Jedi and get rid of everything and make something new. So this would kind of be a way to have a new faction or philosophy, but still have it be memorable enough and connected enough to what came before that it can be more easily acceptable. And this will allow them to kind of go into new territory where you got Force wielders who can be a little good and be a little bad at the same time, right? And that is very fitting for kind of the Skywalker family tree and lineage and legacy and all that stuff. So what I think is when we're done, Rey and Kylo will kind of be the, if they survive, I don't know, maybe they die, but will kind of be the beginnings of the emergence of Skywalkers across the galaxy, right? Force users who just kind of walk that middle path. That's my prediction, and it ties up to, again, Revenge of the Sith, Return of the Jedi, Rise of Skywalker. So anyway, that's it. I gotta go. This might be the longest video ever, but it's fun to break these things down. I only wish I had this going when the original trailers were coming out for the movie to break those down too. But anyway, I got stuff to do. I know you do too. I'll catch you later. Adios. Bye. Oh. Stop. Okay, now I go.